Hey everybody, today I'm going to be doing a demo and review of the Rimmel Clean Finish Matte Foundation. This has been out for a while, I think. I've seen it in the stores for a long time, but I've never really had the desire to get it until recently when I decided I needed a lighter foundation, you know, something that wasn't as full coverage and just heavy because it's summertime and it's been really hot here, so I just kind of wanted something that I could throw on without having to put much effort into it and while still looking presentable and nice and everything. So this was also really cheap. It was like $4 or $5, I believe. I think it was $4. And that's another thing that I was looking for because I can't just be spending, you know, $1 million on foundation. So the first time I tried this, I will be honest with you, I didn't like it. I used a brush the first time and it ended up just looking really patchy. It clung to every dry spot on my face and it just, I like had to go back in with rose salve on the dry spots to make them like oily so that they wouldn't look dry anymore and patchy. So that was just really bad. And I also that time put 2 coats on, like 2 complete layers, and I think I just kind of overdid it. It was just too much of it. Also, it's pretty fast drying since it's matte, so it's best to work in little sections, but when I used my brush I did dots all over my face and then blended it in, and I think what works better for this foundation is just using your fingers. I don't have a beauty blender or any sponges or anything, so I haven't actually tried that method. I think that would probably be okay, just as long as you remember to work in patch or in different sections, like I said. But anyways, this is matte, like it claims, although it's not the most matte. I feel like it could be more matte. Because I have it on right now, and I mean my skin, it doesn't look oily or shiny or anything, but towards the end of the day it will start getting that way because I mean my skin, my T-zone just gets so oily, like especially my nose, and I haven't really been able to find anything that combats that very well. Revlon Color Stay did a pretty good job, but other than that I haven't really found a good one to combat that. But this has done a fairly good job. I've worn this to work a few times, I've worn this all day sometimes, and at the end of the day it can look a little patchy just on the spots where you're extra oily. Like sometimes I get oily in between my eyebrows and just like this whole area of my forehead, and so when I will look in the mirror at the end of the day after wearing this, it can, like I said, look a little patchy and just, I don't know how to describe it. It just looks like it's sitting on top of the oil somehow. And I think that it oxidizes a tiny bit. But like I said, overall this is a good foundation, especially for the price. It's only like $4. That's really hard to beat, and it works. It works good enough, you know. I mean, it's not anything spectacular, but it'll get the job done for you. So far it hasn't broken me out. My skin is pretty bad, but I think that that's kind of hormonal. I think it's, my skin, I've always had bad acne no matter what I use. So it doesn't have anything to do with this foundation. When you see me putting this on, you'll see the acne on my face, but just ignore that because that's just me. That's not the foundation doing that. This stuff feels really light on my skin. I don't notice it feeling really disgusting or heavy or anything. It doesn't have any strong smell. The consistency is lovely, and it's pretty quick to put on since you do use your fingers and just, yeah. So, without any further ado, here is the demo of me applying this to my face. Enjoy it. Okay, so I've already done my toner, moisturizer, and primer, and I'm going to just take my Rimmel Clean Finish Matte Foundation in the shade 120 Ivory, and I'm just going to scoop out a little bit and put that right on the back of my hand. You need less than you think you do. I mean, you can always put more on, but you can't take it off, you know, very easily anyway. So I'm just going to get a little bit and dot this on my cheek, and then just blend it in with my fingers. And I definitely find that using my fingers is the best method for this foundation. I think that's because it's matte and it needs the warmth of your hand to avoid like patchiness or you know, to avoid it clinging to your dry spots. The first time I used this, I did use a brush, and it honestly looked terrible. After I had it on, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is the worst. But then I watched a few other people's reviews, and they talked about how it applies best with your fingers. So I figured I'd give it a try, and I do actually really like this foundation now. So, yeah, just gotta use those fingers and really blend it into your skin. I also find with this foundation that less is more. That first time when I used the brush and it ended up looking so terrible, I had also done 2 layers of it, like 2 full layers all over my face instead of just concentrating the second amount on the parts that really need it. And I think that that had a lot to do with why it looked so bad in the end. I think it was just too much. This stuff, after it has a little bit of time to settle into your pores, I think it looks like enough after that. So you don't have to go overboard doing lots of layers of it, because at first it doesn't look so great. You've just got to kind of trust that it's going to end up looking good after you get all your makeup on. That's the kind of foundation that I find this to be. But I do like to put a little bit more with my fingers just on top of any problem areas I have, just as a little extra insurance. I mostly rely on concealer for coverage, but sometimes it is nice to have just a little extra foundation on there. And then with the remaining amount that I have left on my hand, which is really not much at all, I'm just going to take that and work it down my neck a little bit. I find this color to be just a little bit off from my skin tone. It's just like the tiniest bit too dark, although after blending it in with my hands, I really can't tell very much, but just to be safe, I do like to blend it down my neck a little bit, just to make sure it doesn't look like I'm wearing a mask. So that's how I apply it. And now I'm going to do the rest of my makeup, and I'll come back in just a minute. Bye. Okay, I'm back. Here's the completed look after I've put on all of my makeup, so you can see the difference. When I first put it on, it didn't seem to have a lot of coverage, but after you get your concealer on and your powder, it really, it turns out for you. As you can see, my skin does not look perfect. There are still definitely imperfections peeking through, especially like right here where I'm broken out. But what can you do? I mean, acne is really hard to cover up, and there's always going to be a little bit of evidence of that. But overall, I feel like my skin looks nice. And you're just going to have to trust me here, but it definitely looks a lot better in person than it does on camera right now. I don't know why that is. It's really frustrating to me. But when I look in the mirror, it looks really good. And then when I look in the little viewfinder on my phone, it kind of just looks not so great. But in person, you just have to trust me, in person, it looks better for sure. So overall, I would give this foundation probably 6 or 7 stars out of 10. It's not anything outstanding, but it gets the job done, and it's definitely not a bad foundation. I'm going to go with 7 stars, actually. I said 6 or 7. I'm going to go with 7. 6 would be too low, because I would imagine a foundation that has a score of 6 to be bad. But anyways, that's just my 2 cents about this foundation. I honestly think someone with dry skin could even pull this off. I think that matte foundations are typically geared towards oily skin, but this stuff is not so matte that a person with dry skin couldn't wear it. Just make sure you moisturize pretty well first, obviously. And other than that, I don't think I really have much else to add here. Yeah, 7 out of 10 stars. Gets the job done, and it's worth the purchase if you're looking for something cheap and quick. Have a great day, guys. Bye.